everybody. It's meteorologist Jacob Campbell here with the WeatherNow forecast. So today what I really want to touch on is will Winter Storm Gage be a blizzard or won't it be? Now, once again, I kind of made mention of this yesterday. I've seen a lot of people talk about how Winter Storm Gage will be a blizzard, and that rhetoric has continued into today. So I kind of wanted to make a video really laying out what we're seeing in the models right now and whether or not it will be a blizzard. So a blizzard is an event, and this is a definition from weather.gov, an event that is expected within the next 12 to 36 hours. That's when they'll issue a blizzard warning, is 12 to 36 hours ahead of time. And it requires there to be sustained wind or frequent gusts greater than or equal to 35 miles per hour. And so the snow can either be falling or it can be blowing, but either way, the snow must reduce visibility to less than a quarter of a mile for 3 or more hours. So if we see basically little bursts of 35 mile per hour winds, then blizzard conditions may not be met because you're not getting that reduced visibility due to snow. A lot of the wind seems to be happening just after the height of the snow, like the heaviest part of the winter storm. That's when the wind will really start to pick up. So really, we are relying on the blowing snow to reduce the visibility, and if winds don't really reach that 35 mile per hour mark, they might not reduce the visibility. So I do want to look at the GFS model right now, and so we see this is Sunday night into Monday morning. We do see 28 knots, which if we go to a calculator really quickly, 28 knots to miles per hour, we see that 28 knots is 32.2 miles per hour. Now that is fairly close to that blizzard range. That 35 miles per hour is what's important. And if we take a look at the winter weather here, and we'll go to, not winter weather, surface and precip, and we go to precipitation type and rate, and then we go to that Sunday night into Monday morning. Here we are. So you see that the snow is really starting to fizzle out into Monday when those winds are forecast to pick up on the GFS model. And so because of that, falling snow won't be what reduces the visibility. The blowing snow will. Now, that being said, there may be times this will be a relatively heavy snowfall event, and so there may be times when visibility is reduced to a quarter of a mile, and it may even happen for a few hours at a time. And if that happens, then it would be safe to say that there are blizzard-like conditions. But if you don't have the two of those coupled, it's not technically a blizzard. So, and I say this because I think that a lot of people are maybe trying to get clicks on their video by calling this a blizzard so far ahead. I looked through all of the models, and especially those high resolution models, like the HRRR and the NAM 3 kilometers, and I couldn't find a single one of them that had the wind over the threshold for a blizzard. That being said, I take that back. There was one model, and it's this WRF, the WRF model, and it does show areas, if we look over here at the key, between 28 and 32 knots, which if we go back over here and we type in 32 knots, that's 36 miles per hour. That is over that threshold for a blizzard, and we do see this in areas such as northern Nebraska, mostly in South Dakota over here. There are a couple of areas over the Great Lakes, especially in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and even in parts of northeastern Minnesota. And so if this does end up being the case, then yes, this may end up being a blizzard. But as of right now, there are no blizzard warnings, and we are getting very close to the event actually beginning. And so because of that, I don't think that a blizzard warning will take into effect. Now, that being said, we did see this low, I believe yesterday it was at only 999. by this point, and now we're seeing the low deepen to a 993. And the reason is there's a jet stream dipping down to the south and raising to the north, and that's providing extra spin for this low pressure system. And when you do get that extra spin, you get more air rushing to the center of it and rising, which will deepen the low, basically causing more low pressure in the area. And so I do want to take a look at snow totals. Snow totals have increased since yesterday. And so we're looking at, and I didn't include parts like New Mexico and Colorado and Wyoming in yesterday's, but I'm going to include it in today's. We do have this little area of dusting stretching all the way over to Michigan, although a lot of this will be more lake effect, and it'll be on the back end of that low pressure system as it pushes off. And then we also have a 1 to 3 inch band stretching down here in New Mexico up through Colorado and Wyoming, into more northwestern parts of South Dakota, and then up through central North Dakota. Excuse me. And then we also see it through the Upper Peninsula here of Michigan, stretching through Wisconsin, Minnesota once again, and Iowa and Nebraska. Then we see it jump up to the next category, that 3 to 6 inch band. And here's where it starts to get really tight. But this is also where the uncertainty lies, is where these bands will really set up. And if they set up where we think that they're going to, there are going to be a couple rounds of snowfall just really hammering through this Nebraska to South Dakota to Minnesota corridor. And that's what we're looking at right now for the best area, for the area that has the best chance to have blizzard-like conditions, and also for the best chance of heavy snowfall. We do have this 12 to 18 inch band right here, and yesterday I said that was going to be closer to that 12 inch category, but we're actually pushing up to that, closer to that 18 inch category, and you'll see in a model here in a second exactly what I'm talking about. But right now 18 inches is the top value that I'm seeing. I've seen a lot of other estimates by a couple other YouTubers who have said that they're expecting up to like 30 to 36 inches of snowfall. I personally don't see that happening. We would need to have something major like that low deepening even further to like 986. And then really pulling moisture in from the Gulf of Mexico. But as of right now, it does not look like there's going to be enough moisture to sustain 30 to 36 inches of snowfall. Going back to the whole blizzard talk, I did increase this from a low risk yesterday to a medium risk of seeing a blizzard warning throughout that really Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, and Minnesota corridor. I included North Dakota and not Minnesota in this because on the WRF model, we did see that it was more in that Nebraska and South Dakota area, as well as a little portion of North Dakota that saw the winds that met the threshold of 35 miles per hour. I'm not upgrading this to a high risk just yet because we only have that one model that's really shown that we might have that kind of an event. Now, looking at ice storm warning, we did have yesterday a high risk. I believe it was here in Nebraska. That has migrated to the north, and we have this little high risk band here from South Dakota into Minnesota. We have two different high resolution models that are corroborating this, the NAM 3K and the HRRR model, and I'll actually show you guys here. We're gonna run over to the HRRR. We'll go to a previous run, and we will look at winter weather and go to that snowfall. I meant to say accumulated freezing rain. We did have two earlier that were really hammering home close to an inch of ice, and now an ice warning, if we go back here, requires there to be half an inch of ice over at least 50% of the zone encompassing most of the population. So it really is population dependent, but the fact of the matter is that if you have half an inch of ice, you could really be considered in an ice storm warning. And so we do have an area here of Nebraska, and I actually believe that this is further south than it was earlier when I made that graphic. But we do also have some areas of heavy ice up here in that Minnesota area. Now, going back to the NAM 3K model, taking a look at that total accumulated freezing rain again, we do see that that area that I pinpointed getting close to an inch of freezing rain is the area that I have indicated here for that ice storm warning. The HRRR has it going further south. I honestly think that it will track in this South Dakota, Minnesota area, because as that low pressure system kind of breaks down and deteriorates into Monday, that will help basically seep some warmer air into it. That could melt a lot of that snow and turn it into rain, which then as it falls, can go through supercooled layers, and once it hits the ground, that could refreeze into ice if the layers line up correctly. And at this point, we would see that pretty far to the north and not really in that Nebraska area. When the freezing rain hits, as expected, it's significantly to the north of Nebraska, which is why I don't have Nebraska included in that little high risk band there. We're going to take a look at WSV3 here, though, and we are going to, this is the HRRR model, and this is starting at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time right now, but we're going to up this to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time because that's what time it is at the moment. I'm not sure if these states, the Great Plains, are included in that, but if not, please bear with me. So we have some snowfall here in Nebraska starting and in Kansas also starting. We can see down here there are some of those areas of freezing rain that are already beginning to pop up. But we really see those intensify here in Nebraska and then kind of fizzle away as the whole storm system pushes to the north. And you can see the squall line that starts to set up here at about 1 a.m. Really disorganize some embedded cells, nothing really to worry about, maybe some damaging winds. We see the ice start to pick up again, and then will progress to the north. And then it's this area in here where we have a lot of these purples, which is mixed precipitation, and we have a lot of these pinks that could cause that enhanced freezing rain. Now, the algorithm for WSV3 is showing this as mainly mixed precip and not freezing rain. The fact that there is freezing rain mixed in says to me that this could be a freezing rain event as opposed to a mixed precipitation event. Up here where there is none of that, that's probably mixed precipitation. Same with down here along these areas where you don't see the ice. That's most likely going to be mixed precipitation, or even up here where it really smoothly transitions. But where we have all of this, especially where we're seeing this heavier band of snow, this will likely be ice. So we're going to continue on here as long as 18 hours is the maximum that the HRRR model goes. But we also have this setup right here of rain that will continue to progress to the east, and this is actually triggering, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday. Let me get rid of the models here. This will actually trigger a marginal risk for severe storms in here. And now, if you tuned in yesterday, I talked about how hail would not be as big of a risk, and we're mainly looking at there's a small tornado threat, only about 2%, and then there's also a wind threat. The wind's going to be the main product that we're looking at. We'll go over to the Storm Prediction Center, their website. We're going to go to Convective Outlook. Come on. Load, please. Okay, here we go. And now we're going to go to Day 2 Outlook, and we can scroll down here and we see that they've actually increased the hail to 5%. Earlier today it was less than 5%, wind was 5%, and tornadoes were 2%. And the reason for this, I'm assuming the reason why they, let's come over here to precipitation, and we'll look at precip type. We'll move forward here. I'm assuming the reason that they increased that hail risk is because we'll take a look at a skew T here. The precipitable water is sitting at about 1.5 inches. Now, ideally, you want to be below that 1.5 inch mark in order to get hail. But if we look here at the SKU-T, this is called the dew point depression. This is the area between the dew point and the temperature. And so when that happens, and I explained in yesterday's video, when rain falls into this area, the area is so dry that it will begin to evaporate that rain back into the atmosphere. And as that happens, that absorbs heat, cooling down the entire sounding and making that temperature fall below freezing at a lower level. And so if that happens, you increase your risks of hail. But not only that, we also see Cape a lot. We've got more instability today than we were expecting yesterday. And we also have a fair amount of shear. So hail that's falling, the precipitable water is an issue, that 1.5 inches, but we have enough shear that it's likely going to move most of the rain away from the updraft, which is going to allow the updraft to become more robust and allow for better hail development. But we're likely only talking about pea-sized hail, maybe penny-sized hail at most. We're not looking at anything too extreme. This type of a sounding is more favorable for wind because that dew point depression also indicates wind. Because as that area cools, the downdraft becomes stronger because cold air above warm air is unstable, so it will want to sink, and as it sinks, it will pick up acceleration and become wind at the ground level. But also, like I was talking about, this shear here will blow the rain away from the updraft, allowing that hail to come down. But this instability combined with this twisting hodograph here indicates that there might be a risk for some weak tornadoes. Nothing too major. I'm assuming there may just be a couple of isolated tornadoes. So that's all I've got for you guys today. I hope that you all enjoyed the video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you all and have a great day.